So welcome back to the show.
Welcome back. Urination session over.
Everyone's bladders are nice and empty.
Everybody is peed
The glasses are filled.
And the glasses are filled. I know everybody wants to know that important update.
Pretty important.
Right.
And we were just reminiscing that in talking about your amazing kids, we skipped a whole generation of your career.
Yeah.
And what all of that you told us has bred into this this current state.
So it was really so was that Space 150 decided to what had happened was there were some hurricanes in 2005 in southern Florida.
Okay.
And my husband at the time, he's dead to me. Just kidding.
You had me.
Was he an insurance or something?
He was an insurance adjuster. So he had to go to Florida. I was here. We had a house in the city. He was gone for 6 months.
I feel like I know where this is leading.
No, I was like, I either need to
hire a nanny,
get divorced, or quit my job and go to Florida because I couldn't do it on my own.
It's too much.
Yeah. So in 2005 is when I left Space 150 and went down to Florida, and I basically project managed for him. I just took all the same.
Oh, so he was down there 6 months?
He had been there for over 6 months. We were there for a year and a half.
And then you decided you were going to go down and work with him or for him.
Or I was going to divorce him.
Your choice, buddy.
I literally...
I've actually been there.
It was rough.
Buddy.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't take care of a home. So we rented out our house, and I put my daughter and my dog, we had the Yada, the cute little Yada Yada Yada, our Jewish pit bull. I put her in the car and drove to Florida.
Jewish
I mean, because her name was Yada.
One of the more little
Her name was Yada 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 Yada. So she has to be Jewish. So me and Sydney and Yada.
So many questions.
Me and Sydney and Yada drove
You go right past all the fun stuff.
I know, right?
Oh, come on, there's so much time.
Oh, come on,
So
no.
we drove to Jupiter, and then I mean
Jupiter, Florida, that is.
yeah, beautiful. Yeah, to Florida. We can't fly to Elon would get me there now, but
working on it.
I know I'm in innovation, but I wasn't that ahead of my time.
Yeah, okay.
You'll make it.
And then I just was like, I'm literally like running permits and helping him on project management and going to the pool and hanging out at the ocean and hanging out with my daughter. Like she went everywhere with me. It was doing some personal assistant stuff for this super wealthy lady while I was down there who lived right next to Mar-a-Lago or whatever that place was called that Donald Trump owns.
Who doesn't?
You know,
do all that?
whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Just
Sounds
whatever.
like- I mean, it's
just like
basically
making
the same
it work.
thing I did in my
was
life.
just making it
You
work.
were just leaning into
and
whatever.
Just leaning in, and then we moved back to Minnesota, and I remember making these dumb little postcards. I literally bought like a pack of postcards, and I made labels, and I printed them out. That was like, I'm back in Minnesota, I'm open to freelance, and I addressed them to everybody that I'd ever worked with, and I shot them all out in the mail. And Ted Johnson, who was the chief marketing officer at the Timberwolves, who was my client when I was at Space, reached out, and we had lunch with him and John O'Connell, who was the director of marketing at the time, or VP of marketing, maybe his title. And they were like, hey, we've got 20 years of photos. They're just kind of everywhere. We'd like to create some type of a system to qualify and quantify like what is good. We've got, like, we recognize that there's a lot of inconsistency in image usage. Would you want to come and help us with that? You already know David Sherman, the photographer, because I was producing shoots when I was at Space. And so I came in on it as a freelancer, and then Ted and I worked so closely together. He's still a very great friend, and we're working on a project right now together. We just came in shoulder to shoulder, and anything that was innovation or new, I was helping them as a freelancer. And then I started working with some of the agencies in town on photo shoots and film shoots, doing special events, catered events, like very curated, high-end type of networking events. And then I got a call from Big Event Productions, which we were using for studio space. Got a call from Bob Chenard over there about a Verizon commercial and then something with Ameriprise. And then he reached out and said, hey, Jesse Ventura.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Yep.
I remember him.
Wrestler.
Governor of the great state of Minnesota.
Stand-up good guy, great husband, wonderful father. Was going to be doing a podcast and called Off the Grid and or a TV show with
Right.
Larry King.
this.
Larry King had left CNN and created his own online network with Carlos Slim, like the richest man in all of Mexico.
Yeah.
Was the big investor for it. It was called Ora.tv, ORA.tv. Jesse had a show called Off the Grid with Jesse Ventura.
Yep.
Then we also did his podcast, which I was a field producer for, called We the People with Jesse Ventura.
I've seen
We
an
had so
episode
many
or two of
great.
that.
We had so many great, and not so great. Alex Jones,
Oh, not
Donald
great.
Trump,
Yeah?
Joe Rogan. And we had really cool people. We had
That's my phone.
Oh.
You can't hear it on the...
we had a lot of former pro wrestlers on the show. It was just like
course.
super fun.
Of course.
And
So were you producing this show?
I was a field producer, so they would send me scripts throughout the day.
How did you not take care of all the shit when we came in here then?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you make this all look perfect?
And no one asked me. Whatever, put me on the payroll. It was great. Honestly,
fine.
it was really great. We filmed it over in Northeast. We would send all of the footage via fiber to the LA team. They would edit and clip everything, but they would send me the scripts and all of the reads, all the ad reads, send me some scripts. We had a whole setup that was like a permanent setup, like your studio here was a permanent setup. But we shot like 10-hour days every Monday, 6
Okay.
months. And then the other 6 months, and I was on a 2-year contract, so the other 6 months they would do it at his place in Cabo, which was great.
At his, as in Jesse Ventura's place?
They had a home in
Like a
literally
vacation.
an off-the-grid place in Cabo, not on the water at all. Him and Terry would go down there during the winter, and they basically just brought a different crew there and had it set up, and they would go there. And when he was here in Minnesota during the summer, then I was running that whole show, and he was literally the nicest person to work with.
I've heard that he was
So
he's just,
charming,
like,
so lovely.
But that says a lot about someone because
Well, I would like to, go ahead.
that says a lot about it because their public persona is one thing and they live on the opinion of their first impressions as they go through life, right? Mm-hmm. But the
mean, that
ones that
says a lot.
seem nice sometimes are just shitholes in the
He was so
background.
sweet. I will tell
and
you-
he was just, that's what I've heard, that he's just a nice guy to the people that work with him.
We had a super stormy morning. Our call time was early, like 7 a.m. It was summer, pouring rain, like literally raining cats and dogs. And so I'm waiting for him to pull up, and I've got an umbrella ready to go to come run and grab him. And he was just like, get out of here. Like, he didn't want it at all. He was like, didn't want that at all.
Didn't want you to put yourself
Didn't want
out
me
for
to
him
go
that
get
way.
wet. Like, he was just
So
like,
he could
get out
stay
of here.
dry.
He just
Right.
ran through the parking lot and came in and changed his shirt and like would get ready. I would like comb his hair. Like it for me, it was so cathartic because I had lost my dad recently.
Sure.
And he was around the same age as my dad at the time. And he was very much like a dad to me and was very, very sweet and would ask me tons of questions and ask about the kids and all the things. And he had never met my kids, but Roman and I went to a Minnesota Lynx game and we were sitting a couple rows behind courtside, and he and Terry and their daughter were courtside on the other side so we could see them. So at like a break, it wasn't halftime, I think it was like a timeout, I was like, let's go say hi. And Roman's like, hello, governor. Like, he's just being silly. He's like 9 or 10. Right? And he said, you must be Roman. Oh. And for me,
For him to remember his
to
name.
know that you've never met my son,
No, that's
and I
awesome.
didn't just introduce him, but you already knew that was Roman, and to know my name and to introduce me, we're in a very limited business relationship. He just was a great guy. And Roman and I also ran into him Christmas shopping just a few years ago when we were over by Rosedale Mall. And again, he recognized me right away. And we were standing there visiting, and people were trying to like talk to him and like, blah, 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 and he just wanted to like hear about, he was giving me an update on their dogs. He had gotten a new dog, and on Terry and on both of the kids, and asking about Cindy and Roman. He was the most genuine human, just
again,
a
it
really
goes
nice guy.
Back to the fact that like people are just people. Like they
Such a good
happen to
guy.
be elevated
Well,
into
he was
these
early
positions.
in the way that he was just like, I'm going to be a human being. I'm going to be me in this situation, which of course was shocking to everyone in conservative Minnesota who weren't really used to people being authentic. I mean, it was like he
still have a hard time with
predated.
it.
Yeah, well, I mean, now we have like super authentism, right? So it's like he was sort of, he would have seemed mild today compared.
For
So
sure.
around, so that was around 2014. So that was like around the time where I had left the Wolves, so what had happened was, because I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
What happened
what we're
was,
talking about.
We're getting to the
We're gonna-
present
I love it.
day.
I mean, it really doesn't matter. It
doesn't matter.
It's just fun. I'm
Tangents.
riveted, actually. I'm sort of interested, like the
This
whole
is
time.
like, for those of you that are neurodivergent, this would make total sense.
I don't think.
I'm sure some
I
of
don't
you are
think our
completely
shows
following. Yeah.
really make much sense most of the time anyway.
So when I had come,
But like, isn't this great?
Yeah, so
just do it.
I
Just get in there.
I came back in like 2006 and was just like freelancing, but the Wolves were a client, and then what had happened was, because I am jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
In 2011, my dad passed away.
Okay.
And Roman, my youngest, started preschool. And I had been freelancing for the Wolves. And I noticed some gaps. I noticed some things that could be done a little bit differently. So I had asked John and Ted both to sit down with me and have lunch. And we met in like whatever, it was like the NBA Cafe or whatever it was. That was in the
sure.
Target Center at the time, or Hubert's or whatever. I don't know, whatever. I can't remember.
They're like, we get free
version
coffee
of
here.
that garbage.
Let's
was.
meet her there.
Something like
But we went there, and had the taco egg rolls or whatever we ate. And I was like, I basically wrote my own job description and just like presented it to them and said, there is a gap within this organization, and I think I can be a conduit between sales and marketing. I'm already doing these things. This is a viable role. I got home within an hour. I got a call, and they offered me a position to start there.
I like the way you said. What's the word you said though? Do you know? It's this metal thing on the wall. What is that?
Conduit.
That's different. I'm telling you, because in construction it's conduit,
Yeah.
but you say conduit.
Conduit.
Yes, which is like very entrepreneurial of you. You say conduit, like, give me the job. I conduit.
Dude, I will tell you what, in my career then,
It's just different.
As a freelancer, I think of myself, when I work with my clients, I think of myself as a scaffold.
Holy shit, that's like her favorite word. You just pulled out the favoritist word.
I'm a scaffold for my clients. So I'm literally going...
Or a conduit.
Or the conduit. But at the Wolves, I was
scaffolding
really...
is about creating a strong base
It's
that you can grow things on.
It's a structure.
It's a structure.
It's a
structure.
structure.
If you can
that
create
is,
that, then you can do
It's
whatever.
a structure on a structure.
It's a structure.
Well, I'm not trying to take over your structure.
Yeah.
I'm going to build a structure in alignment with yours to get you to this usually a transformation or a reproduction or a restoration, right?
Because it allows you to work on the existing structure. Scaffolding.
But then I'm tearing that bitch down and I'm out putting out truck.
which is what scaffolding is temporary.
Yeah, it's temporary.
It's temporary.
And that's
as
the way
you
I work with
on
my
them.
clients. Like,
I like it.
yeah, let me identify your gaps. You might know your gaps, or I'm going to identify your gaps. And that was what I identified when I was freelancing there. I was like, there's so many gaps here that I know I can fill these gaps and I can do these things.
Right.
And especially on making sure that things were completely aligned under every single product that was outward facing across both of those franchisees. I really knew I could make an impact. Within 6 months, I got a 50% increase in wages. Sorry, everybody else who works at the Timberwolves. Suck it. I know you're scrambling.
God, you crack me up, Rebecca.
I had something to say, but I think it doesn't need anything. It doesn't need anything.
It was great.
I mean,
it's the best.
It was so much fun.
Position.
It was a new position. We created it for myself.
I get it. You grew up in Elk River.
Squawks.
Oh my God, are we going back?
We gotta turn away.
We are never gonna get to what she's doing.
I know, we'll get there. We're getting there.
We've got all night.
I had to throw it off a little bit.
What?
I had to throw it off. You grew up in Elk River, where I grew up.
Yep.
Yeah, do your squelks thing, whatever that is.
Squelks, Elk River Elks, ready to attack, boom, ching, stand back. ATT, ACK, attack, stand back.
So I assume
Kind of a big deal in Elk River, but whatever.
I mean, some of you might remember her. 'Cause
whatever.
She is a
and the
big
reason
deal.
we figured this out
You guys follow me on Facebook. Elks.
is go squelks or elks or whatever.
Squelks is short for Let's Go Elks.
Oh, that's where that comes
Let's
from.
go Elks.
And it was what I liked
Get it?
and I had never seen was the Elk River.
I made it up.
Oh,
bitch.
it's
Yes.
you. Because
this
you were
is
a
me.
few years behind
She's
me.
still trying to get it to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they might still do it. Who knows?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, you
they-
graduated the year my boyfriend was born.
I graduated the year your boyfriend was born.
93, right?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
you have
cheers.
like a 26-year-old boyfriend or something, right?
31. Thank
31,
you.
yeah, whatever. That's great. That's right. Big Dan or something, right? Wasn't it like
Love this.
like super Big Dan or?
No.
Big-
No.
Oh,
We're not going to
Dave.
say what that.
Big Dave or
We're not
something.
going to. His name is Brian, but we're not going to
I
get
know
into
we're
what
not.
the
I know.
acronyms are.
I know.
But yes,
It's good. We don't have
great.
to.
Super,
but
super
you know,
talented.
super
Talented
man.
child. Yes. Stunning, gorgeous.
What is it? How does a cougar sound? Like, "Roar, roar."
Ah.
I don't know. I'm like, let's fucking go. I don't know.
I don't know if it's like elks and
What's a
cougars.
squelks?
Okay, all right.
Anyway, we know you, but I met you through our mutual friend Billy Darkenwald.
Yeah, Billy Darkenwald also went to Elk River.
You met
Also a
Billy?
cheerleader.
This is how we met you?
Yep.
Okay. I love
Billy
her.
and
So
I
Billy-
were Well, no, she was on the dance team and I was a cheerleader. So she would correct me immediately if I dare to call her a cheerleader.
That's right.
She would be so mad. She was on the dance team and I was a cheerleader.
That's a lot more sophisticated.
And I was my high school mascot, so makes sense.
And Billy,
Checks out.
one of Billy's good friends was my best friend's younger sister, Jenny Constant.
Yes, I know Jenny Constant.
Yes. So we met at this thing, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like you,
You know, so funny.
I grew up in Delwood.
Oh,
we
let's
need to
go
get some
Delwood.
Delwood people
Go
on.
Delwood.
Yeah, beautiful.
Would have gone to Matamidi.
Did you? You don't have a Delwood.
No,
you can't do the
how could you-
ATT.
There's no schools in Delwood. We had to go to either Matamidi or
Yeah.
Waverly Lake, and it was
Yeah.
Matamidi for me. But I was not allowed to go to public school.
What's a
because
mascot for Matamidi? The Knights or
I have no idea because I
Leprechauns?
didn't go
allowed
there.
to public school. Like I
I wasn't allowed to go to public school.
Do you want to know what I learned about Matamidi?
What?
It's Lakota for White Bear Lake.
It is?
Yes.
Oh no shit.
Matamidi is Lakota Indian for White Bear
That
Lake.
makes sense.
Cool, huh?
Oh.
Look at that fun fact.
We always did like ma toe, me die. Get it? Ma toe.
My toe, me die.
Ma toe.
I stubbed me toe, me
And
die.
then just to make it even more weird, I moved to a town in Wisconsin called Menominee, which then was me no money.
Oh.
Not Lakota, different.
Before I missed this moment.
Better than
because-
more heads.
That's a great place to go.
What do we want? More head.
More head.
When do we want it? Now. It's like a cheer. I didn't go to that school, but if I had, that'd be my cheer.
There's so many girls that are like, nope, fuck that one. Off the list. Before the moment passes, I have to ask though.
What?
Because this is my co-host and a good friend,
Yeah,
and I
what?
adore her, right? And sometimes we're at odds. Not really, but anyway. When you say that you couldn't go to Matamidi, or to White Bear or whatever, right? It
would have been Matamidi.
You couldn't go to public schools. I can see two different sides. there's either your family's like, you're not going to public schools, or the public schools are like, fuck that, you're not coming to we are not letting
why didn't you
we
go?
are not letting that woman
Were you
in here.
homeschooled or you at private school? Did you go to Hill Murray?
I went to Hill Murray. I went to.
She wasn't allowed to go to public
St.
schools.
Jude. I went St. Jude of the Lake.
There was a judgment.
Matamidi from K or first grade to 8th grade. Kindergarten, I did half days in Willerny Elementary.
Yeah, Willerny. Yeah.
Oh, you know this.
Yeah. Well, I lived on White Bear Lake, so you know all those little schools.
So yeah, I learned how to swim in White Bear Lake. I didn't go to a pool.
Okay.
It must have been the cheap lessons my mom signed me.
They just tossed you off the end of a dock.
My kids still learn in the lake, in Lake Nokomis. Seriously.
I love that.
I love lake swimming.
So my parents did not want me to go to public school.
God bless them.
Oh,
Actually, they didn't want any of us kids to go to public school, but I'm the only one that actually made it through private school.
Well, I will tell you, you always have to look for silver linings. One of the blessings of the pandemic, my son was bullied a lot in school because he's very different and very analytical in the way that he thinks, but also like he's a disruptor. And I love disruptors.
I mean, I like him already for all of that stuff. So I hope he's doing well.
Disruptors can piss people off.
The teachers didn't really like him, and he really just felt like he was in a battle of identity.
That's almost the mark of a person who's going somewhere, is if your teachers don't like you in some way. Or some of them love you.
Never been back since the
counterculture. They're not assimilated.
When the pandemic happened. Like the first time we went back into a classroom was a trade school in a college where you're hands-on, and it's been great. It's been great for him, and
to be back in the company
to be in an environment.
And I mean, he's not the happiest little baby bird every day. Like he still struggles with like everybody struggles, and it's not like we found a magic weapon or pill to like transform him into just being like super confident. Like he still struggles, and I lean into that and I listen and I understand that life is very hard and the world is very weird.
Well, and
he needs to understand a lot of other people are struggling, a lot of men that he would look up to, a lot of women that he would look up to, a lot of people in life are struggling anyway.
Yeah.
And that's something that the kids, we don't talk about that stuff.
More slowly than girls, honestly. His brain isn't even fully formed yet.
I know, but he's way smarter than me when I was that age.
Well, just wait. He's got a few more years of brain growth.
Yeah.
So it's confusing.
And I was
that
like,
time to change is confusing. It's the pollywog, right?
Yeah.
Everything feels wrong.
Pollywog a doodle all the day.
Pollywoggy doodle all day, pollywog. I like it. Pretty close.
We almost got there.
You too. Are we? Okay, so
let's get to the. Let's get there.
Meat.
Rebecca.
Yeah.
What do you do these days?
Oh my gosh. I know. It takes.
What is it in the gaming world? Because honestly.
Okay, so
my younger sister was like, I did not expect her. This is not she.
Yeah.
Is kind of a serious, I love you, Emily, kind of a serious, she doesn't watch, a serious-minded person.
I'm sure none of the people in my family do
a little bit.
She was so excited.
Like a little bit pre-COVID, I was being asked to do some partnership strategy, some kind of like an accidental partnerships person. And my background obviously is on like the more of like the marketing integrator side.
Okay, but I'm going to take a little show break and say, this is a show about entrepreneurship, right?
Yes.
And one of the things that you mentioned is that you sent out postcards to a bunch of people. That's super entrepreneurial in a certain way.
Yeah.
And then another one was that you like wrote your own job description and slid it across the table to two dudes.
Yeah.
That's super entrepreneurial.
And then I left. So when I left the wolves,
it's like taking the elk by the horns. I was going to say bull
by the balls.
But yeah,
some pretty cool.
Bull by the horns.
Yeah, so some pretty cool things were happening when I left the Timberwolves in 2014. There was a huge social media digital wave, and players were asking me for advice constantly. And
right, because how do you manage that?
And then the Big Event Productions reached out about the show with Jesse, and then I had a WNBA player who was really wanting me to help on a bunch of things she was doing. And I also had David Sherman, the team photographer, who was like looking for somebody to help him more on production. And I was like, I can take a leap of faith right now I will say right now, like when you're talking about being an entrepreneur is no risk, no story. So I just took a big risk.
That's you hear that?
Yeah.
You watched.
What do you think?
You watched 58 minutes of nonsense to get to that.
To get to that. What do you think the difference is between taking a risk and making reckless decisions?
You don't know the difference when you're in the storm. You just gotta trust God. I really, truly don't know what I'm doing every single day of my life. None
of us really do.
I'm just like, I love to just do things that excite me.
Yeah.
So I had all these exciting opportunities just intersecting. I had some of the Timberwolves players, I had actually a couple of hockey players and one football player at the time that were all like asking advice because there was a huge sea of change in social media where these athletes realized that they actually had more power than the teams on social media strategy and these opportunities to leverage their name and likeness in the social media
to become
aspect.
Influencers.
And they were trying to like ask me my advice based on what my role was on how to get there.
And they're probably very used to being exploited, not just by the teams, but by anyone who comes along, maybe.
There's so many hours that within their contracts, there's so many hours that they have to do, which leads to a brand. But then brands were reaching out to me and saying, we want to do a thing, but not with the team. We just want to work directly with X player.
Sure.
Can you help facilitate that? The first time that I did it, no lie, I didn't even know I could monetize it. I made the introduction and a player's agent reached out to me and specifically asked me to send an invoice for 20% of what the deal was. And I was like,
wait a second.
You are from Elk River.
Can just make money doing the thing? Yeah, so that was my big leap. That was 2014. I left the team. It was scary. I started contracting. I felt like I had a safety net because I was married. So I was like, okay, I can just do the thing. When I went through my divorce.
This was the guy with the confusing last name that you still carry?
But what do you do?
I was doing the show with Jesse. I was working with a handful of like 5 or 6 athletes. I took a contract with a wealth management firm that wanted to build out an sports and entertainment division.
Okay.
So I helped them. I helped inform them on that. I did their new business. I did their marketing, their rebranding. They had left Ameriprise and wanted their own brand identity. So I helped really be, again, the conduit for that. I was just like juggling a lot of things in the air and it was working and I was happy and I didn't feel overworked because I was working on things I was really kind of excited about. Then I went through my divorce. That was during the show with Jesse and working with this wealth management firm and working with some athletes. Kind of got through that crazy year of a divorce. And then, I don't know, people just keep giving me money. They just keep saying they need help with something.
Oh.
It's been crazy. So like I worked with 3 global sports technology companies.
Okay.
One in London. They do an accelerator with Arsenal, which is a football soccer team.
I know Arsenal.
One here in the U.S., Stadia Ventures, and then Brickhouse Ventures in Vancouver, helping them evaluate sports technology companies that they're looking to potentially invest in and then do incubator programs with. So I've been an advisor and a mentor for a number of sports technology startups. So all this was happening around 2014, 2015, 2016, and then like 2017, 18, 19, doing a lot in traditional sports, working with athletes and entertainers and finance. Took classes at Harvard Business School online because I really felt like I needed to have an understanding of the vernacular from an investment strategy standpoint. As I'm working with some of these investment firms, I just didn't understand the language. And they didn't need me. They don't need me to understand the finance side.
No, but you need you to.
I just want to know what the fuck they're talking about. But what they want me to do
is speaks my language because I understand most of the stuff, but I'm like, gosh darn it, these people speak in a different.
Oh my God. Yeah,
and everyone looks at each other like, I know what I'm saying, and you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Come to find out, if you ask them, they're like, no, it's all just words.
What does that acronym mean? They're like, I don't know.
I don't know what this stuff. Well, people were talking over my head all the time, and
they're talking over their own heads.
It's an uncomfortable place to be.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be able to keep up. I don't want to be a financial advisor. I don't want to be a wealth advisor. I'm not talking to you about your money. But if my job, if what people are asking me to do is take people from an investment strategy to a go-to-market strategy, I definitely want to understand how to build that bridge.
Right.
So that's some of the work that I did and still do is on investment strategy and go-to-market strategy once startups are getting investment funds or an athlete is building their own personality and brand and they're, like with Ricky Rubio, we were building out his camps and clinics and working with Adidas, depending on where you live in the world, on like his personal clothing and all that stuff. So I really wanted to be well informed and speak the language. I will tell you, and my sister will tell you that I had all my testing was on Thursday mornings, and I would just cry every Wednesday night at going to Harvard Business School.
Yeah, you're in school.
I went for finance, economics, and business analytics, and I just cry. It was so overwhelming.
But you did it.
I did it.
You made it through.
I learned it. I had two options. You could pay $11,000 and just get the curriculum, or you could spend $44,000 and get like your MBA. And I was like, I don't need an MBA to do my career. No. I just want to I'll pay for the materials. I just want to learn. I just want to learn the things. I just want to like feel like I'm not the dumbest person in the room. I do like having smarter people in the room.
You've not been the dumbest person, but not knowing.
Well, I don't know if I've ever been the smartest person in the room.
I don't know that I've ever been the smartest person in the room.
With my family, siblings.
I know, because you're from Elk River. They're all dumbasses out there. I'm with you.
I could curate a party where I'm the smartest.
Oh, look at us laughing at Elk River.
They're not listening.
No,
they don't even know what a podcast is yet.
I think I could curate a great.
They're listening to Zach Bryan. But anyways,
you never know. We might go viral.
That's the meanest shit we've ever done on this show.
So I will also tell you,
I love it.
Entrepreneur hack, because we're talking about big ideas. Entrepreneur hack. Most of the work I was doing was sports technology focused, purely before the pandemic. When the pandemic hit, I remember being like, I would get an email almost every day. So I was doing public speaking.
Okay.
A lot of corporate speaking, a lot of huge event speaking, curating events, and working with probably 10 to 12 pro athletes.
Okay.
Pandemic hits, all of it was going away. I mean, every day I would open my email and I would get another cancellation.
Yeah. That happened to me too. My pandemic story, my business collapsed out from underneath me.
Oh my God.
We lived like 10 blocks from where George Floyd was killed. Like our whole neighborhood
It was crazy.
Burned.
And so anyway. I was like, what am I going to do? After I got divorced, I was in a relationship and we had been together for 4.5 years. I was losing all these contracts. I wasn't making money. I think he was freaking out because of that.
Sure.
And then he cheated on me with like a girl that he was doing work with. God bless you. God bless you, Ryan. He's engaged now to her. Hope everything's great. She's like
I'm not sure you mean that.
She's the Honda to my Ferrari. So good luck to you guys. Have a great life. So literally.
So you're still friends?
That was like literally like if I could ever have been wounded more, like just being completely like stabbed while you're down. That was really traumatic.
I only made fun because you made fun.
No, you can make fun all day. No.
You're with
after this, I'll
Dave
tell you
or Brian or whatever. You're with
B. Ryan,
your new friend.
So that was like traumatic too. So I was just like, what is happening my whole life? I felt like my life was falling apart, but I do love Jesus. And I will tell you, like, sometimes you have to have your cup completely emptied before it can be filled with the things it needs to be filled with.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you know when it's empty? Because this is what I'm wondering.
Well, when you feel like you're dragging your knuckles on the ground all the time, it seems like that's probably
it's just like...
I'm just wondering, because there's times where I'm like, Is it empty yet?
I don't know. I feel like
it's going to be okay. I know it's all going to be okay.
Well, like shifts.
My word for, I've been thinking a lot. I like to have like a word, like an inspiring word every year. So my word for 2025, I've been literally prayerful about it.
Coming up.
First, I was thinking about the word discipline because I really feel like I need to be more disciplined. And then I was like, discipline is just an action, but what do I really like?
What's underneath it?
What is in its transformation? I think 2025 for me, I really want it to be a year of transformation. I want to transform my mind. I want to transform my body in terms of like, what am I listening to? What am I looking at? What am I consuming? In terms of like even like what I'm eating and drinking in my body. Cheers to Chardonnay.
Cheers up.
It's not
cheers
Chardonnay.
to that.
It's Pinot.
Oh, Pinot.
Pinot Grigio.
But like, you know, like I just really, and then my business.
It's not that either, but I don't know what it's.
Oh, it's just Sauvignon Blanc.
Transformation, right?
Sorry.
So that was what was happening. I digress again.
No, it's cool. You're the guest. We let you digress until you pee yourself.
Okay.
That's what we do around here. You are good until you're like, holy crap, I gotta pee.
Until you have to interrupt the show to pee.
I kind of like everything got a little bit stripped. And I had like the wild hair, crazy brain idea where I'm looking at my LinkedIn.
I like these.
Yep. I'm looking at my LinkedIn. And at the time it said sports brand marketing and strategist. And I was like, okay, well, I had done a couple esports events prior to the pandemic. So I just put an E in front.
Next thing you know.
And then I'm like, I'm going to block my calendar for an hour a day and I'm going to consume content. I signed up for a bunch of like gaming and esports related. So a little bit prior to that, I knew that the Wilfs were evaluating whether or not to get an Overwatch team or a Call of Duty team. I had some insider info that they were evaluating that.
The Wilfs,
they own the Vikings.
They own the Vikings. They're kind of a big deal around town.
They're also
Packer fans, so I don't
big
really
deal in New
care.
York.
But I'm rooting for the Vikings.
Ziggy,
I
right?
also, yeah.
I'm rooting for the Vikings.
So Jonathan Wilf was in charge of kind of those efforts as part of the Family Investment Fund. I was very much an outsider. Brett Diamond, who was head of partnerships for the team, was tasked.
May I ask, though, honestly,
What?
Can you,
Do you know Brett Diamond?
No, but could you have a name? Could your name
cooler name than Brett Diamond?
Could your name be Brett Diamond and you not have some position that's super awesome? Like
Yeah.
It's like you didn't even have to do anything.
So the Diamond family, if you want to do research, his dad is now a scout, but used to be the GM of the team, and his grandfather is was, I'm not sure. Sorry, Brett, a minority owner of the team.
Okay, I'm just saying.
So it's a legacy name, and the Diamond. I just saw him Monday night. Like phenomenal family, phenomenal mind.
I'm sure.
So they between him and Jonathan Wilf, they were like tasked to do this whole esports thing. It was like such a thing. I didn't necessarily know that when I changed my status to esports, but what I was doing was drinking from a fire hose about the industry. And my strategy, which was extremely cultured and catered, was I'm going to interact with anything gaming and esports, and I'm going to share things that I'm learning that's happening in the industry with my own personal thoughts and my perspective. Yep. And I did it religiously every single day.
Very disciplined of you.
Well, I had nothing else to do other than take Roman skateboarding and get car parts. So I had the time. And because I was an independent contractor, literally like by the grace of God, because I was an independent contractor and I could prove that my income was being impacted with all these emails of cancellations of speaking engagements. At the time I was making like $8,500 for an hour of a keynote speaking engagement at a corporate event, talking about digital marketing and sports technology. So it was like a dagger. I'm like, I'm a single mom. I have a lake house. I have to pay my bills. I don't know what I'm going to do. My boyfriend just left me for some girl that he works with during the pandemic. I was going to choose a different
word, but I'll leave it at that. It's good.
I don't know her
heartbreaking.
Or B, Ryan, but I think that we all can admit that once a cheater, always a cheater.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever.
Okay.
Loved his children. They're amazing. Like, whatever. I really do wish him the best. He's like, whatever.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But it was hard. For me, it was just like, I was just like,
life is complex.
I was in well, I also worked for the Timberwolves, so at least I know about rebuilding.
Because you
and it works eventually.
Had to rebuild a brand for how many years?
It works eventually, right? It worked eventually.
Yeah, we went down that road. So I'm just gonna be focused.
So you did it.
I just fucking put my fucking heels in, and I worked for probably 90 to 120 days straight, and it was drinking from a fire hose. The coolest moment that I had ever was, I thought I was being catfished on LinkedIn. I got an email message on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
From
what's catfished? Just so I know.
You don't know what catfish is?
It's when
I've heard it, but I don't know right offhand.
Take it over.
I don't know for
Explain.
sure.
Catfish is when someone pretends to be someone else and talks to you from that other voice.
From a social media
so
standpoint.
they have a fake persona. It happens a lot on social media because it's easy to create a persona.
Of course, yeah.
So people will create a persona and then interact with you and usually fuck you over.
Sure.
Yeah. Or ask you for money.
Why are we maligning catfish?
Or dating. I'm going to tell you right now.
Catfish are fucking great little critters. They live in the rivers. They do their things.
Delish.
They taste great.
Delish.
Yeah.
Anyways,
why do we have
what
I
it's
think
called.
that sounds like shitty humaning.
Here's what I think
I
it
would
is.
say catfish.
You're never really...
Catfish are kind of bottom feeders also.
They're bottom feeders, and it's like when you catch a
they're kinda
catfish, you feel like you're catching a big walleye or something like that.
But it's like this.
And you pull it up, and it's like...
It's an ugly fish.
You had another
It's an
delicious
ugly
catfish.
fish.
Yeah.
You think you got a fucking northern or a walleye, but you
Exactly.
got a ugly fish.
You know what? Honestly, in my world, I would say a dogfish is more appropriate because
but listen.
in Minnesota, dogfish are fucking terrible looking, ugly ass.
I didn't even know there was such a thing.
Oh
Okay.
yeah. We'll show you someday. Sorry.
We're not in a position to change the terminology. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of
I will
influence.
tell you.
Look at us. Look, maybe we just did.
I got a LinkedIn message from the CEO of Schwann's Corporation.
Okay.
That said,
they drive around and deliver you some ice
no,
cream.
no. That's Yellow, which is now folded. No, Schwann's is like a frozen food. It's owned by CJ Corporation. Nope.
They drive around in the Schwann's
stop
truck.
it.
And
Nope,
Jesus.
you're wrong. That's called Yellow, and they have now folded and they've gone bankrupt. It used to be called Schwann's Home Services, and that has been split up into two companies. So Schwann's frozen goods is Pagoda egg rolls, BB Go dumplings, it's Freshetta pizza, it's Red Baron pizza. It's things in the frozen section. Yep. It's owned by a company in South Korea called CJ Corporation, and their senior leadership and headquarters are here in the United States in Minnesota.
I ought not question you. You seem to know what you're... I'm just saying. I think I was wrong.
Let's go, BB Go.
Yeah.
So their CEO sent me a note, and it just said, call me with his cell phone number. And I was like, sir, are you who you say you are? I just called him. I literally sat in my living room and we talked for 2.5 hours about esports and gaming. So what was happening during the pandemic for Schwann's Corporation is they were a huge sponsor of the Timberwolves and some other local teams. And what the Timberwolves were doing was trying to do a make good because there was no basketball happening with their NBA 2K professional team. And they weren't really sure how to navigate that world. And they wanted to learn more about gaming and esports. So I ended up meeting with him. I then had a follow-up with all of their senior leadership team.
The guy who you called on the cell phone from the Schwann's thing that you weren't
It was
sure?
really him.
Okay.
Met with their CMO who came from Pepsi. Met with a bunch of their senior leadership. Talked through. They were really looking for advice. And I said, a company of your size, I'm just like one girl. So what I decided to do...
I'm just a little girl. I'm just a baby. I'm just a baby.
Kind of with a big enough ego to take all... I mean, not ego in a bad way. I can
do it.
Yeah, we've had this discussion.
I used that...
So here's the thing.
I used that in the the nice way, with a big
There's
enough.
not a nice way anymore.
I still built out
with
there
a big enough sense of self to say, I am going to take this on.
But also I know, like, I'm extremely aware of when you're working with a Fortune 100 company that you have to be extremely intentional. Now, first of all, I don't want to completely kill my brand if the ideas that I have to bring to the table are not going to resonate. Then they're like, from an outside perspective, it could be like, well, why did you just have this one girl like do the thing? So I understand big picture, and I'm also very well of what my gaps are and how big of a team I'm going to need to pull that off. So what I did was I reached out to Gary Vaynerchuk's team. He was part owner of Minnesota Rocker at the time, which is the Brett Diamond, the Wilfs. They created a Call of Duty team called the Minnesota Rocker. I was doing some events for them. I was doing some influencer strategy.
Now we're getting into the e-gaming finally.
Yeah, we're getting into the gaming. Well, it's all gaming.
Holy shit!
So I reached out.
So long.
I reached out to Gary Vaynerchuk's team and I said, "You guys are already doing some of their media.
Yeah.
I think we can partner on this." So part of the contract that I was able to bridge between Schwann's and VaynerMedia included me being the esports strategist on the project. Okay. So I still got a handsome paycheck. They got a very handsome paycheck, but they had a team of like 25 people. They were doing these big, robust decks. I was doing all of the research. I basically built out for Vayner a 250-page deck that they were able to then take and sell to multiple corporate partners to educate them on what was going on in esports and gaming. So I brought all of my thought leadership. I'd been researching it already for years. I had already paid for a ton of research through like Nielsen and YouGov and all these other
so you put in a lot
entities.
Of time.
Tons of time. I put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in putting together a very thoughtful presentation, but they did all the creative. They made it look phenomenal, and then they could sell that to other clients. And they did sell that to other clients. I helped bridge the gap and originally presented, I think, to maybe 3 different major global brands. And then their internal team was able to just take it and they were able to monetize that. And I was happy and they were happy. I took a contract with the Wilf family on, first it was events and influencer strategy. Then it kind of melded into global brand partnership strategy. Then we bought a Rocket League team. Then we bought a Valorant team. Then we bought another Valorant team, all here in Minnesota. And then I started my podcast, which was all on the future of marketing and esports and really educating the masses.
Good? It did well?
It was the top podcast that was specific to esports and gaming.
So you'd never do anything so uncalculated and silly as to go on a show that is completely unresearched and by 2 people who just want to chit chat. You'd never do anything like that, would you?
Oh, I like to chit chat. Actually, I would. The coolest thing about this is why I thought to do this podcast, because so many people are reaching out to me and they're like, "I want to pick your brain about this whole gaming esports thing," or they had like a startup and they wanted to talk about like how could they take their sports technology startup and how could they make it into esports? They were just like asking me advice. And I'm like, I'd get off these calls. I'd be on a call for an hour and a half. I'd be like,
they don't even know who I am.
No, it wasn't that. It had nothing to do with me. I'd get off the call and go, man, I feel like I just solved somebody's problems. And this was such a great conversation. It wasn't even about getting paid. It was just like, this conversation was so dope. Like we should have recorded it. Yeah. And then I was on the phone with this guy, Jacob Miles, who's like in traditional toys and really in entertainment. And Tonka truck guy, right? Tonka truck guy. Totally ran all of that toy vertical and was getting into the gaming world. So I was telling Jacob Miles on a call, I was like, man, I got off the call. Well, we were leaving the call. I said, I feel like this would have been a great podcast. And then he was like,
may I?
He decided to create a podcast channel specific to gaming, and they just ran it, and I would just choose people and we would just do
May
the
I
thing.
suggest?
Do you still do it?
No, like
we're reviving it.
Esports kind of started fading out a bit, and like
it
was waning. It's still there, but it's like it's been, I would say, what's been happening in the last 2 years in the esports. So gaming is a almost $400 billion industry. Esports is a little shy of $1.3 billion. So if you cut a piece of pie into 400 pieces, it's not the biggest portion for publishers who control the games to really lean in. So it's not the biggest effort. And there were also every white man over 40 that wanted to get
under
in
40, it's okay.
Had to they wanted to pour themselves in, and there was a lot of over-promising and under-delivering, and it put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And it's like we've been in a season for the last year of imagine tilling a garden, and when your garden's a little bit overgrown and you have to pull all the weeds, you're pulling some good fruits, you're pulling some good veggies, some good stuff's coming up, and that's what was happening. But you need to pull that garbage out.
Fertile ground for the next thing.
And so I think we really are in a new wave. We're at a cusp of some pretty great things.
What is it? What is it? What's the new wave?
You want to be smart? Is to talk about that.
Yeah.
And I'm serious with the studio that we've got. I think the medium of podcasting isn't necessarily about can I get the most popular show in this or that, right?
No.
But it's can I get the most popular show in my niche, in my thing?
Yeah.
Can I get these people need to hear this and they need to go somewhere to hear it? And can I give them some?
Well,
so if you see something new coming, shouldn't there be someone talking about something new? Of course,
and there's so many misconceptions about playing video games. There's so many misconceptions about the competitive side. People don't necessarily understand the depth and the breadth of what video gaming on a competitive stage is. So that's esports. But even just gaming in general, what we do know, what the data suggests to us about gamers as a whole, kids who play video games regularly and who are playing games in communities, in gaming lobbies, they're more likely to vote. They're more creative. They're more social. They're more likely to go to college. They're more likely to be involved in their communities from a volunteering and social justice change.
So it's more social than
they're
people
more
give
likely
it credit for.
They're more likely to graduate high school. They're more likely to graduate college with a 6-figure plus career in computing. So many parents are looking at gaming from this old skewed lens of propaganda. And
there was a period of time where parents would be like, get your nose out of that book.
Even when Space,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, when the newest Space Jam came out with LeBron James and his kids were in it, I was so turned off in the first 15 minutes where they were trying to tell the one kid to get off of playing video games and go in the backyard and play on their custom basketball court. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not really buying into that.
I mean, I would, being the sort of outdoor wildernessy half of me is kind of that guy. I would say kids need a balance.
There's always a balance.
Really great for them to get out and do things too. But I don't keep my kids from gaming. In fact, I didn't want to keep them from gaming because I felt it might hamstring them in a certain way. You have to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
And it, watching my now 18-year-old work a job during the pandemic in order to get the money that it took to buy the parts to build a computer, then build a computer and make that computer work so that he could play computer games. I'm like, I don't think that's the worst thing that ever happened.
Right.
Might make you smarter.
Yeah.
I think we're 6 hours into this.
We are 6 hours.
I think we're about 6 hours into. I'm joking, but I think we're pretty far into it. I think we better.
Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
You want to talk about what I'm doing right now?
Yeah.
Have we not?
No.
Jesus
Doing some really
H.
cool things right now.
Tell us what you're doing.
Oh my God! It took us this long. Yeah.
Well, right now.
No, I'm going. I never do through a beer, but I'm doing it. I'm listening. We're doing it.
Some pretty cool things that are happening right now in my world. So some of it I can't speak to. So there's some things that I can't necessarily talk about. But what I've been really pouring myself into right now is really building global alignment around innovation. Some of it sports tech, some of it more smart city technology. So I'm the head of business development for
We got to it.
the World Smart City Forum.
Okay, say this again.
So-
Head of business development
For the World Smart City Forum. So what we're doing at the World Smart City Forum is bringing together, right now we've got 21 global cities all the way through the world, where we're bringing together the biggest thought leaders, dignitaries, kings, governors, mayors, port authorities, anyone who is in charge of building out
They call them the
global infrastructures throughout the world. And we're doing a series of, we're calling them pilot programs. They're kind of like incubators. So taking about 10-mile radius areas or more, a minimum of 10-mile radiuses. And we're bringing the top thought leaders globally together to share, not necessarily data and analytics, because everyone's very sensitive to that,
Sure.
but solutions that they're finding are advancing cities in a very smart way. So we're working with like robotic parking solutions. We're working with smart detections on bridges and wind technology, to be able to say, okay, the fiber and the boxes that we're using that are kind of thread, almost like a string of Christmas lights across a bridge, can tell you the integrity and the health of a bridge, which from an engineer standpoint, if there's a weakness in any of the
girders of some sort or whatever.
Whatever it may be, the technology within these fiber boxes will ping that. You, as an engineer, you can put on your VR glasses. You can see exactly what the fiber boxes are reading.
Sure.
And then you can mitigate that before going out.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think about the 35W bridge collapsing, if they would have had this type of technology there, it would have sensed that weakness before the next inspection. And so you're really mitigating the risk. Same with some of these wind turbines, parking garages, all of this. Like some of these robotic parking garage systems, they're overall, after the initial investment, you're saving money overall, but you're getting more cars parked more efficiently, and they're completely hands off. So you pull into a slot, you've got your fob if you're, if you've got a pass, or you just use the app like you would if you're parking at a meter. You put your car, it goes almost like the little, like what were those Hot Wheels little parking garages? It just goes whoop, whoop, whoop. It just puts it in the most efficient spot. It's all robotic. It's all engineered. It's all AI driven. It's going to put it in the most efficient spot. You can go into your stadium. So I'm working on that through World Smart City Forum. And then my team and I at Generation Esports are really informing a lot of clientele on global esports infrastructure. So we're working on a series of stadiums throughout Africa and the Middle East. We've got about 7 in the books. I think 3 are signed and delivered. We've got another 4 that are in the works. And then I'm also working on some larger global competitive entities that I can't necessarily speak to, but they're at the absolute top of the global gaming ecosystem. I'm also contracted with some of the esports and content creation teams on just bringing some of the brands that I work with on helping them inform, like, how do you get in front of the next generation of consumers? 87% of Gen Z's playing video games. Gen Y, it's even a higher percentage. They're also noted as being the highest level of influencer of purchasing within their household. So mothers hold the coin purse for brand purchases, but it's their children that are informing on what those purchases are going to be. Well, so meet them where they already are.
Totally happened in the world. Is like when we were kids, we wanted something and our parents were like, hell no. Like, no,
but there were some things, like I remember there were a couple of like Sweeties or breakfast cereals that we would just beg for just because of the brand. Like around Halloween time. Around Halloween time, it was like I just wanted like that blueberry cereal. You know, my mom would buy
Lucky
it.
Charms.
Yeah. And it was like such a treat to
whatever
have.
it was that wouldn't be bought for me.
But if you really think about behavioral decisions, you're usually in
you're at public school.
You're in your tweens and teens when you decide what, like, are you going to be a Secret or are you going to be a Degree? Are you going to be a Pepsi or are you going to be a Coca-Cola? Are you going to be a Sprite or are you going to be a 7-Up household, right? And when you make those decisions, which is usually between the ages of 13 and 17, you're going to carry those decisions into adulthood. And then also throughout esports and gaming. So that's big for those types of CPG brands. Yes. But then even deeper than that, you're seeing brands within the esports and gaming ecosystem that you're like, why is State Farm investing millions of dollars into esports when these kids don't even have cars yet? But
I know why.
Because it's brand awareness.
Then they see
it's ingrained in their brain. And how many, if you've got a kid at 13 who sees that you're investing in something that they really, really love, say it's Valorant or Call of Duty, right? So you're in Call of Duty, you love to watch Call of Duty, or you're watching the Warzone streamers, you're watching the competitive
and there's
talent, and it's State Farm, and the content's really resonating with you and it feels like they get you. Then when you get your first car, State Farm. When you buy your first house, State Farm.
Yeah, that's marketing.
When you get married.
It makes me a little scared sometimes because we do this stuff and that is what wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, because you're seeing brands like Louis Vuitton, you're seeing like major lifestyle brands that
invest in
Gucci. If you're 16, 17, you might be able to buy like a heat pressed trash Louis Vuitton t-shirt. You're not going to be the person to buy the $3,500 attaché, right? But someday it's an aspiration. So brands that get it. I think it was maybe League of Legends that Louis Vuitton did the case for the trophy. It was just very well done and aesthetic.
Just to get it in there for the kids.
Yeah, DHL is a great brand. You know, they're a shipping company. What does that have to do with kids playing video games? But
nothing, right?
They curated a character in game that then showed up inside of a competitive event and delivered prizes in these DHL boxes. Surprise and delight. Now you're throwing out boxes, right? And it's like the character from in the game where the character in the game is delivering you your essentials that you need to like go to battle, right?
I get it.
So it's very intentional.
This is very cool.
Guide people through that.
Yeah.
It seems like, honestly, I know we have to end, but it seems like you really have some power in how to shape this.
I think coming from a marketing side, I will just say to close, everything comes down to like where your core skills are.
Yeah.
And having a really strong business acumen in executing and integrating the brand and marketing side and being the person who's in charge of making those ideas come to fruition through the talented people that I'm blessed to be surrounded with.
Yep.
I've been able to track and understand and analyze what has worked and what hasn't worked since 1999.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm 46 years old and I've seen a lot over my years. Being able to take that and come shoulder to shoulder with somebody who was basically in my position in the past, trying to navigate a new area of business development for them as a marketer and being able to help inform and guide them. That has been a very core aspect of my business that I really pride myself on. And then on the other side, on the technology and innovation side, understanding that just because something doesn't exist yet in sports and technology doesn't mean anybody wants it. So being able to evaluate if something's going to be sticky or not and help investors say, this is going to actually work. I really think this is going to be something that is going to take off.
Right.
Or something that like, some of the things that we've seen is like food delivery at games or merch delivery at games. And it's like, well, they might not be in their seat. And like, really, what's the KPI on that? And how much are people willing to pay more? And you have a whole infrastructure built around it. It sounds cool to have something delivered to your seat, but really
Until
the
it doesn't
dollars,
work.
but the dollars don't really match. So for me to be able to say, save yourself 6 months on trial and error, people have been pitching this for 10 years, 12, 14 years.
We've seen all these different iterations
We've seen
this.
every iteration, whatever. It doesn't really work.
All right, Rebecca.
So that's just like, that's it.
That's it. Holy crap.
I know, nerd alert.
No, total nerd alert. Total nerd alert. I would say, since we're wrapping this up, the entrepreneurial part of it, the entrepreneurial spirit in you is big, because you are just going to find a way to fit yourself into the thing that you see and figure something out and get it done.
Yeah, like, I'm a figure-outer.
Yeah, it's and you're going to get there. And you've done it. Every single step of the way, you found a way to fit yourself in.
I have no idea what's happening.
You can do it.
Well, that's not true.
You can do it.
You can do it.
I think...
And you have done it.
I think every single entrepreneur will say, like, they're just kind of, the ebbs and flows and, like, figuring things out as they go along. The one question that I hate people asking me is where I see myself in 5 years.
Yeah.
And Sheryl Sandberg said it the best, which was, in 5 years, what I'm going to be doing hasn't been invented yet.
Yeah, good.
I'll give her that credit.
I know. And that has inspired me to always say things like, this is how I want to feel.
Yeah.
This is the freedom I want to have.
That was like her whole lean in book.
This is the influence I want to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Woo! All right. Well, children.
I don't even know how to end this.
I do.
Okay.
Oh, well.
We definitely want to thank our 22 and younger audience.
Yeah, kids.
Just not a single one out there.
They'll be there.
No, they'll be there.
They're gonna
We'll
be
talk
there.
about esports
I'm
and
sorry.
all the cool shit.
I'm sorry. Thanks for tuning in, kids. If you want to learn more, what about this idea?
Wait. What do they do? How do they make the hearts?
Oh, no, you got to
How do you
pass
make
it
the
along.
heart?
Here, give me one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. Wait, now that one's got to go more like that.
It's a little more like that. Okay, pass it to the left camera.
I'll pass it. Okay.
Well, they also do this in gaming. They do this. These are like little hearts. This is very Japanese, so you got to do this. These are like making little hearts.
I'm making little hearts.
It's a little gaming
And then
trick for
imagine
your kids.
little hearts coming from your fingers.
Phew. And then if you do that, if you're like on the right,
It also is like maybe rolling a booger, which I also enjoy
that's
doing.
my daughter. Oh God,
my
I love her
God.
little. I bless.
8-year-olds, man, they don't care.
Yeah, she's like, I love you, Daddy. Farts all over me, like I love you too, baby. Anyway, there we go.
Good one.
And we're out. Done.